What's going on, guys? Jubes187 here, and I woke up about an hour ago to some pretty exciting news concerning Final Fantasy XIV PvP. I wanted to go over a couple things, and the first thing I want to talk about is the changes to front lines. And after about a year, even probably more, of requesting them to remove the GC restrictions, they're finally going to do it. You'll finally be able to just queue up and get put on any GC, and you don't have to wait for 72 people, 3 teams of 24. And you could still choose to only fight for your GC, which is good too for those flavor people. But overall, that's just a great change for PvP. And I hope a lot of people start playing Frontlines, because Frontlines is a good way to kind of ease yourself into PvP and to get used to what it's like to fight other players, because it's a lot different from PvE. There's a lot more tools in your kit that you have to utilize, and the way damage is dealt is a lot different. It's a lot more bursty. It's not about, chipping away at something with millions of HP and things like that. So it's a lot different. And Feast AV8 was pretty good to get into that, but I think Frontlines is really the best way to do it, because there's just a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of fighting. It's just good. I started with Wolves Den, but I really learned a lot when I started doing them Frontlines back in 2.3, I believe, when it was secure, and it was pretty active back then. Actually, it was pretty good. But the next change that they mentioned, which I thought was someone suggesting at first that it's what would save PvP, and I found out it was real, was that they're disabling chat in the Feast. Now that's pretty crazy, because it's clearly done because people are complaining about the toxic attitudes of the players. Now, from my personal perspective, I don't know if it's a great idea, and nor did I find people to really be that toxic. But then again, I came into the Feast, I already had about a year of PvP under my belt, so there wasn't really much. I couldn't do so much wrong where someone would really call me out. And even today, now I've been doing it for 2 years. I've been in the top 100, pretty much every season of the Feast, and I still get flamed on. Just if they don't think I did something right, or if I actually did do something stupid, I'll just be like, whatever. But overall, I didn't think it was that bad. Most of it came post-match, because there's already a lot going on mid-match, and you can't really just sit there and type out an essay about why someone should uninstall the game. But it usually came post-match, and honestly, if the guy was flaming you post-match, just leave, roll your eyes, and get on to the next one. And then there's a lot of things where people say, like, oh, you're being toxic to me. But the person's really not being toxic. Maybe they're a little more aggressive, and they're not really being the nicest teacher, but, I mean, and I'm guilty of it. At the end of the game, if I say, like, listen, healer, you need to learn to purify, when you get stun locked or whatever, someone might turn around and be like, oh, this guy's elitist, this guy's toxic. I'm not really being toxic. I mean, I'm not happy with you, but I'm not being toxic. So there's levels of toxicity, and I never really saw that deep, like, full hardcore League of Legends, like, kill yourself, uninstall the game, and all that shit. That I never really saw that. But what people are dismissing is that there actually was some decent communication in the Feast if you were good and taking it seriously and playing at, like, gold. I guess gold this season, because the way you gain is a little different. But just gold, I guess in general, gold and up. There was some okay communication, and I actually had this match saved. And I was going to post this match maybe a week or so ago. Just never really got to it. And it goes over a lot of good communication, and I was going to use this match to kind of goad people to make useful macros and to actually speak up about certain things, because a good Feast player is tracking about 5 to 10 things at a time. You know, all these people, buffs, positions, the score, all those kinds of things. So when you bring something to light, it could really help somebody. And yeah, I have there's some basic macro communication in here, some a little more in depth. So I think right here, if we get into it, it's just me. I'm gonna split off onto the Astrologian and put a stun lock up, and I have it macroed, and it's to explain to people that the stun lock is going down and to try to grab the kill while you can. So let's get into it. So you see the bind, and this is just a basic stun lock, and we have the 1 on the monk, so we know who the target is. And the stun actually doesn't actually die during the stun, but it does enough damage to kind of secure the kill right from there. So that's just some basic macro. Let's see what else happens in here. See, even I'm guilty. I should probably have that clemency macro. Oh, so the healer sleeps the enemy healer, and he says to kill a DPS. Now, if you saw me before, I was attacking the summoner to kind of I blinded them just to kind of peel off some damage so we didn't get an equalizing kill. But when I see this macro, sleeping a healer kill a DPS, I'm like, okay, like, let's go. So you'll see me split onto this monk. I mean, that's just an easy kill right there. But he spams it again. And I'm like, so I go onto the summoner, and I throw the heavy down. The problem is that the team actually misplays here and goes onto the warrior. And I guess if they really wanted to do the warrior, they could have macroed it and you know, marked him as 1, but the macro said kill a DPS, so you'll actually see us miss out on this kill that we otherwise would have got. Then they do change the macro, and we're just a little shy of getting the kill here. But I mean, if they had come right off the bat, that would have been such an easy kill. Then there's going to be another stun lock here, but I don't think anything comes out of it. Now, we didn't stop on. Now, if you're playing DPS and you have your burst up, if they had that macro, then I would wait for my shield bashes. But seeing as I'm not really in tune with these DPS, I'm kind of just shield bashing about every minute or so. You know, as long as the whole team's up, then you might as well just, you know, try the stun lock, see what you could get out of it. And there's actually an LB being used, and I didn't know that this LB got used, because there's an LB that's important later in the match. It probably got canceled. I think it takes away about half your adrenaline. So I don't know if it ever goes off. Either way, so then I mark the adrenaline. And in low levels, you can kind of see a lot of players don't really grab adrenaline as much as they do in the higher levels. So whatever, just mark it, just make sure everybody's on board. I actually missed the cover on this guy too. See, I should have saw that blood for blood. You saw the floating text. And I think I did start. Oh, he had Fetter Ward anyways, but I should have been more ready to cover. I was trying to glory slash it off. I was gonna try to snag his blood for blood, but I should have had more awareness right there and probably covered a little early, because you'll see that I miss it by a sliver. And my cover is also macroed. I don't know if I ever really get any good covers off this game, but that's macroed as well, so people don't run out of my reach. Yeah, see, I went for it, but and it's only macroed with text. And if I had maybe a macro to target DPS, you know, 2, so which would be player 3, I could have maybe saved his life, but either way, that's more of my just awareness. Maybe I was focusing on something else. Because like I said, we're juggling so many things that I just didn't really react in time, but I should have. So, this is really important. And this is probably the best play in the game right here, because and people wouldn't notice things like this if you just watched it, but he dies, but he takes the time to say that he has LB and to choose a target. Now that's a big deal because LB got nerfed and it doesn't one-shot anymore. So being able to get that little petty damage up front is a real big deal, because with shields and full health, the LB will probably live. So he says, I have LB, choose target. And I know that in the new feast, when they're going to disable the chat, there's going to be a lot more macros and marks, which will more or less cover most of the things that I've gone over so far. But something like this is a little more intricate, so I just want to go over it. Yeah, all around there. So I see that, so I mark him. So I throw the heavy on him, full swing, because I don't care if this is overkill. I just want to get the kill. We're not up by that much, but once I see that the drag comes onto the summoner, I know that he's gonna LB. So if he didn't say that, I wouldn't know that he was gonna LB. So what I do next, because this is like 60% of the damage. I mean, this is gonna kill her no matter what. And then so immediately snap onto this and stun lock this to avoid anything that could go wrong. Then immediately mark this, because after the kill, everybody's kind of like trying to like, just get their bearings again. But I'm like, no, we kill this guy. So I throw up this, and you'll see everybody immediately react and just melt them. Some more communication. The healer says that he's almost out of mana. Mark the supply boxes, kind of bring everybody back. He does his sleeping macro, but I think that was just to show us that he had it and was using it. I don't know. Now, another thing I want to go over, and this is just a general feast thing. When people respawn like this and the match resets, you have to be very careful about a quick pick, because they're all respawning and coming back together, so that means their burst is going to be more well aligned than it is just in the general just combat. It's kind of like they're spawning in for that first engage all over again. There's a good chance that most of their buffs are up, but more importantly, they're all going to be aligned now and probably popped at the same time. Also, the enemy monk hadn't LB'd yet, so I told my team to watch for the LB, because it's pretty clear. Because just like how our Dragoon said, when he died, I have LB. There's a good chance that their monk said the same thing once they all wiped. So I put the strength down in case he LBs within the next 20 seconds, which I'm pretty sure would lower his damage. And I switched my focus target. See, he should have had a attunement macro, but I just had the awareness to know that he was low and he was in trouble. I probably saw the icon in the top left. I also cleared off his raging strikes because I saw that he didn't really have anything else, so I just cleared that off him quick. He probably could have saved his Tetra if I had my clemency macro as well. So I put Testudo up because I saw that he got a balance, and I'm trying to counteract the damage that he could do with his LB. And I had ult too, but I just went with the Testudo. I didn't want to stack him because of the diminishing returns. He didn't have his strength down anymore. See, he actually gets double LB'd here. And honestly, if that was communication, then from the other team, then that was really good because he got home ganged, he got LB'd by the healer and the melee. So I mean, even with Testudo, he just got completely destroyed. I even clemency'd him too. You can see the effect, but I mean, there is no way he could live through that. But the point is I mean, we still discussed it. We still said watch for it, whether our summoner could have virused people, or I did my part. I did the strength down when I thought he was going to do it. I never reapplied it. I did give him the Testudo. I knew it was coming with the clemency, but the communication on the enemy team was much stronger. They double LB plus home gang. I mean, that was good on them. I didn't want to get any chain kills, so it's probably it should be LB. Fall back macro is an important macro, especially when you're playing in the lower levels of the feast. A lot of new players just fight for no reason when the healer's dead. There's never a reason to fight unless somebody's like 1%. The mark is still on the monk. Oh, his monk just gets melted. The monk went a little deep right there. This warrior tries to 1v1 me, but... So he does his sleeping macro again. So, and then I look at the screen and I can see, the swirly swirls means that this guy's being slept. So I'm like, okay. I was like, I know he's going to chain it. So that's about comfortably, I think 11 seconds around there. A 7 and a 4. I don't really know what the next one is, but... So I check it, and it's at 2 seconds. I see you cast a new one. So I wait on it again, and I get knocked back. And then I do that immediately into the chain stun. And then we get a kill on the warrior. Now, another thing is that it's actually really smart to go on healer with heavy CC or damage, because when they're in your base. Because if you kill the healer while they're in your base, then it's so easy just to get the picks when they're running back, especially if you have something like Spine Shatter dive, Dragoon could stun them, the Summoner could bind them, Weapon Throw from your tank. So even if it might not be the best target, if it wouldn't have been your target in the middle of the map, it's still really smart to get on the healer when they're on your side of the map, because just the walk back is so long, and without your healer, I mean, it's not going to be a good time. So Blubbers is a good player, and he probably realized that if we could really just take the healer out of the fight, whether by killing them or chain CCing them, then we could get all these kills, as they're retreating. And I actually really think that's it. I think we killed the monk again at the end, but just kind of a straight up kill, and it's pretty much overkill at that point. And that's victory. So my thoughts on them removing the chat. I really don't know how many people are not PvPing because of toxicity. There's obviously the vocal majority that comes out and is like, oh, I'm not doing it because someone told me to uninstall and kill myself. And there are people like that, but I haven't seen it so much to really believe that this is going to be the answer. To be fair, I think the front lines change is a lot more inviting than the feast change. And the feast change is going to come at some consequence, but at least it is for both teams. So neither teams are going to be able to communicate like they used to. And I also saw a picture of all the new macro commands that they have, and I'll probably post a link to them if I post this on YouTube. Post it in the description. But I mean, they're kind of vague, and they're just kind of a sword or a shield. I don't really know if there's going to be, text with them or anything like that. But, I mean, even someone in the comments on Reddit explained, like, there's not going to be an icon for, like, make sure you purify, the stun lock and all these other things, I mean, that's just too intricate. So it looks like, now I don't know if these are going to be marks above the player or just kind of like stickers, because there's one for each role. So there's a tank with a little sword and a speech bubble, the healer icon with a sword, or the DPS icon, which is a sword with a sword and a speech bubble, and then the same thing but with an X in the speech bubble, and then with a foot in the speech bubble, and then with the chest. So that's probably, it says targeting commands and new auto-translate options will be added. Auto-translate options will be implemented as PvP actions can be added to the hotbar. I don't know how the targeting is going to work, because there's a medals one too. Unless you target somebody to say to pick up the medals. There's, looks like one's got two swords crossed. It's kind of like the LB icon. Maybe calling for an LB. But like I said, I don't know if this appears over your character to say that you're shouting a command, or if you're gonna mark people with them. I don't even know. I don't know if they're gonna be able to if you're gonna be able to use your old marks or anything like that. But still, I mean, these are still very bare bones. And new players, if they couldn't listen to the old macros then, they're not going to get much out of this unless it's tied to something in the chat box. Because the chat box still has to be there. It's not going to be completely gone, because there's things like, look at the chat box right now. Person picked up the adrenaline kit, the medals, and all those things. So, I don't know. But there were people saying that this was like, nothing was lost. And the point of this video is to show that there was some communication in the game that is going to be lost at this point. And I don't know if it really is going to make PvP that much better, because I truly don't believe that many people weren't PvPing because of the toxicity. And if you really did love PvP and you really did want to get good at PvP, the toxicity probably wouldn't completely thwart you from doing so. You'd probably just be like, wow, that guy's toxic, but I really like PvPing, and I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to get better, and I'm going to, look up resources online and get better and learn what to do and all that stuff. But, I mean, the toxicity came out because mainly of the baseline skill of the community, which is already, we all know it's pretty low. And PvP, like it or not, it's a little more intricate than raiding. So if you couldn't even do that at an okay level, then you're not going to be able to do this at an okay level. And the player base, the pool of players wasn't big enough to make actual good matchmaking. So that's really the main problem there, was that the matchmaking was poor, and when you put good players with new players, they're going to act out like that. So, well, I'm really excited about the frontline change. I think the frontline change is really good, and I think if you've never PvP'd and you've somehow watched this video for as long as it is, then go try some frontline when it comes out. Well, when they drop the restrictions. I don't know which one's going to be populated. It might be Shatter because it's the newest, but Steel Rock is infinitely times better than it. And I actually might play it too, because it'll be pretty fun to see everybody from all these different GCs playing together. It kept working in swings. Like one GC would win a lot, and then they would switch, or a lot of bad players would hop on the bandwagon. But make sure to do that. As far as the fees changes, I'm glad that they're doing something. It's better than nothing, I guess. I hope that these macro commands are well implemented, and they work well, and they could cover even some of the niche things, but I just think just a general like slash mute option would have been better, because League of Legends is always like, yo, if someone's being toxic to you, you can always mute them. So who knows? I hope it works out. I love the Feast. I'm not toxic generally, but well, I guess that's it. So take care, guys.